Dive supervisor and manager with over 16 years of experience working in the industry. Benjamin Swan started a partnership with Project Babbage, a tech company in the Northwest specializing in blockchain technology, to help revolutionize how data is stored and shared within the dive industry. Fueled by his years of experience, Benjamin seeks to provide tangible solutions and advance the way the industry operates. Ty Everett is the founding president of Project Babbage. Prior to becoming president, he worked in the Bitcoin blockchain industry as a software developer, specializing in cryptography. In 2018, Ty founded the Gateway Payment Processing Platform to accelerate merchant adoption of Bitcoin. In 2019, he led the team working on non-custodial Bitcoin wallet. The micropayment ecosystem created by Project Babbage is a natural evolution of Bitcoin's core philosophy, something Ty is uniquely equipped to develop and scale.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me all right? Yeah. I want to thank each of you for being here today. A little bit about myself. My name is Benjamin Swan. I've been working in the dive industry for a little over 16 years now. I've been a dive supervisor for the past 5 years and now moving on to more project management roles. Earlier this year, I attended a safety meeting and was introduced to the idea of a digital logbook. Just so happens I know the perfect tech company to make that happen. Project Babbage is a research and development company out of the Northwest who are leading experts in blockchain technology. Today, we're pleased to present Splash, digital logging for professional divers. All right, so why is logging your dive important? Information is an invaluable asset in today's knowledge-driven economy. The more information and proof of experience a diver can add to this book means the more valuable it becomes. It then becomes a monetizable asset, not only to the diver, but to the dive company as well. How have logs benefited the dive industry? Historically, logging information has significantly benefited the dive industry by enhancing safety, improving training practices, and advancing research. By meticulously recording dive details such as depth, duration, and conditions, divers can analyze their experiences, identify potential hazards, and refine dive techniques. This data has paved the way for the development of better dive equipment, safer dive protocols, dive tables and schedules, and more effective training programs. Additionally, compiled dive logs have contributed to deeper understanding in underwater ecosystems, allowing for more informed conservation efforts and the promotion of sustainable diving practices. Overall, the systemic logging of dive information has been crucial in fostering a culture of safety and continuous improvement within the diving industry. If no information is collected during a working dive, then that dive may as well never happened and holds no value to the future of the industry. Top-notch security to safeguard your valuable dive logs. This is compliments to one of my divers who allowed me to take this photo to show just how we safeguard logbooks in the field. The more knowledge and experience a diver gains, the more valuable that diver becomes. That information deserves to be better protected. No offense to Ziploc. Benefits of a digital logbook. A digital logbook for divers offers numerous benefits that enhance both safety and convenience, far more than I can list in this presentation. But here are a few examples. Firstly, it enables divers to easily document and access their dive history, including details such as dive conditions, locations, and equipment used, fostering a comprehensive record that can be referenced in future dives as his or her experience grows. Secondly, it provides companies with reliable information, allows for easy verification of certification, and digital signatures that are accessible anytime, anywhere. But we're going to go a step further by using blockchain technology. Traditional software companies are vulnerable to hacking, altering of records, and other safety concerns. By integrating blockchain technology, these issues are eliminated by leveraging a core the core attributes of transparency, immutability, and decentralization. False documentation can lead to huge safety concerns and damaging legal problems for a company that can be extremely costly. Each entry recorded onto the blockchain is stored in a secure, unalterable digital ledger, ensuring that once information is entered, it cannot be altered. With features like cryptographic security and provenance tracking, blockchain provides a robust solution for securing documents against forgery, enhancing trust across various industries. Owning and controlling your identity and data. Blockchain technology empowers individuals and companies to own and control their identity and data by providing a secure framework for storing and managing personal information that can be verified without relying on centralized authorities. Reducing the risk of identity theft and fraud, users can selectively share their data with trusted parties, maintaining privacy and ownership. Moreover, the transparent and immutable characteristics of blockchain ensure interactions. The level of control not only boosts security, but also enables individuals and companies to leverage their data for better services and opportunities. On that note, I would like to welcome my friends and colleagues at Project Babbage, Ty Everett. Thank you.
First, just want to thank everyone for being here. My name is Ty Everett. I've been working in the blockchain and distributed ledger technology industry since about 5-6 years now. When I was approached by Ben here to talk about some of the crossover between blockchain and the dive industry, I started to look into it, and I came to realize that there is significant crossover. I run a research company fundamentally. We're still uncovering what blockchain is capable of in particular areas, but what I want to do is talk about what I see with the physical records that we have now with these books, and then I want to present two possible ways that things could go with digitization, because I think it's inevitable over time that we're going to see a move towards digital record keeping with an app on people's phones, something like that. But blockchain can certainly help with that. I think in a number of different ways. Firstly, blockchain the way I like to think about it, if you don't know what blockchain is, it's kind of like a digital permanent marker, right? You can't erase the data that goes on a blockchain. That doesn't mean that you can't update your records and add new details over time, but it means that once you've written something, it creates an audit trail, right? You can go back and see the entire history of what was written, even if you write something and then say, cross it out and then replace it. So when it comes to records and things where you want to be certain of something that has been recorded, blockchain creates a tamper-proof and immutable ledger of all of that data. It also enables interoperability. So what do I mean by that? People right now, they have their one book where it keeps all the records of their experience and their dives and their certifications and all of that. And as that person moves across different companies, different jobs, whatever it is that they're doing, they keep their same data with them, and that data moves with them in the physical world. They literally carry it around with them in a Ziploc bag, right? Now, the digital records can be a little bit more secure than that in case you lose your book or whatever, right? You can sync something. If you have a work phone and that work phone uses a records management application, you can have that data sync across those devices. So you lose one of them, you can replace it, right? That's one thing. But interoperability in this context means more than just one single software as a service company, because, and I'll try to keep the analogy here with the physical books, right? You can move across these different companies you might work for and build up your history and your reputation over time, and you kind of keep that with you. If all of that data is stored in one centralized database, like you have with traditional, I'll call them Generation 1 digital systems, where you have a database at the center, everybody plugs into that one database, and then you hope that nobody breaks in there and does a ransomware attack. You hope that nobody goes in there and changes everything, and you have no record of what was there before. And also you have one company who kind of makes a service and a business out of charging everybody whatever it is they want to charge for that data and access to it, and they become a gatekeeper, and they kind of just bring the whole industry under their control and just get the data all in one place, capture that network, and then move on to the next thing they want to do. With blockchain, it's a little different because each user has a device, and then the data is stored across many different nodes, they're called. Nodes are basically places where you can store data. And because there's all these different copies of it, and because that data is secure using cryptographic techniques, which I'm happy to talk about in more depth if people have questions about it. But basically, the concept is we can give people the peace of mind that their data is not only free from alteration, right? It's not been corrupted, but also that no single entity, no single platform, cloud software as a service company is going to be in control over all of that data. And then, maybe they get hacked, maybe they go down, whatever the case is. By moving this data out to a decentralized network of nodes, we can allow for reduced cost because you don't have one single platform, greater security, and even transparency when it comes to updates that might get made to that data. So if I have a record of a particular thing that I'm doing, and then I want to add some more information, or maybe some company or some supervisor, whatever, has to sign off on something after the initial data was recorded, you can append those updates within the system while also keeping record of what was originally there. And that way, if you ever do need to unwind, or if you ever need to go look back for auditing purposes, maybe you want to be able to prove that a certain piece of information actually existed and definitively prove it, right? Back when it was created, versus maybe somebody went back and changed something later and then said that it was always that way, right? So there's a few different crossovers here, and that's kind of why I wanted to talk about this stuff and how blockchain might be able to help create a more resilient, lower cost, higher security, more auditable and transparent solution for this industry. So my company, Project Babbage, we got started a few years back. We're a research company, and we're building some of the core infrastructure and tools around scalable blockchain technologies. That's kind of what we do. So when Ben approached me and my team and started talking about this stuff, we kind of just we put together a little prototype, and I got some slides here talking about Splash, so I can show some of that. I'm not going to go into too much depth here with a lot of this, but there's some areas where we can consider why this might be useful, right? So as an application, Splash, we have kind of a prototype and a mock-up, and we're here to learn as much as we are to talk about blockchain, because we want to make sure that what we're doing is creating value and is aligned with the needs and the goals of digital logging for professional divers. And we're here to learn, right? We're here to discuss this. We're here to answer people's questions about blockchain, but also connect with the right people, right? We want to hear from people in this space. What would an amazing logging system look like? So that's kind of where we're at with it. We've built a few different concepts here. You can see. But yeah, I think the key takeaway for us is blockchain is an emerging technology, right? Just like AI was a few years back, and now it's everywhere, right? But in terms of the crossover and in terms of what we might be able to build, I think there's some synergies in some areas where we might collaborate. So happy to answer people's questions and just kind of see what we can put in place. I think that there's two possible futures for these digital records, right? One where there is a single company that the entire industry trusts to manage everything, and where when you want to then later on start to incorporate a digital logbook, you go to that company and you pay whatever it is that they charge, and you hope they don't get a ransomware attack, and you hope that all the data stays safe and no one changes it, and you just trust them, right? And then the other potential future is where we have open and interoperable designs for this data, where just like you have with the physical logbook, you can take your data and you can move it with you across different companies, different places you may work, and then your certificates can be associated with you as an individual instead of with this platform, right? So that kind of interoperability, I think, is important. And yeah, just kind of here to say, you know, we're happy to answer questions, and we want to offer this as a potential alternative way, maybe a generation 2 of digital systems. Get away from the generation 1 with a centralized database, and maybe just offer an alternative, and you know, let people know it is possible to keep that attribute of these systems where you can move around, you can keep your data secure, you can keep it with you, you can own your records, your identity, your certifications, and that stuff can be open and interoperable, and we can do it securely. And maybe blockchain is something that people want to consider with that. So that's really all I really wanted to say here. And you know, I'd like to maybe see if there's some questions. Why don't I want to invite Ben back up to the stage, and maybe if he wants to call on some people who have questions, then we can talk a little more about it. I don't know how much time we got left.
Anybody have any questions?
I got questions.
Go ahead.
All right. How long are these records good for on the digital level? Because I know that if you put something on a flash drive and you don't look at it, if you put something on a DVD and don't look at it, historically you get about 10 years before it starts to self-corrupt. How long can we expect a digital logbook to last?
It's really an economic problem, right? So with a blockchain, you have many nodes, many places where that data is stored across, you know, the 7 continents, right? Different data centers charge different rates for storage of data. But what happens is information has a value, right? So if you set up, you know, it depends on the, you know, what we want to do is we want to work with people and figure out what the data is worth. But like, if there's a piece of data that's stored in three different data centers, right? It's stored resiliently. That's the main thing, right? It's not just in one central database somewhere, sitting in some server closet on some magnetic hard drive. It's, you know, you have multiple copies in different places, and what are you willing to pay to keep it safe, right? The utility of blockchain is what it does is it creates like a link backwards in time through these, they're called blocks of data. And so as long as you keep something around, as long as there's at least one copy that manages to survive, right? Even if you take out 2 of those 3 data centers and they both, you know, disappear at the same time, as long as there's that one copy left, the only thing really that the blockchain allows you to do is it allows you to verify that, in fact, that last remaining copy of the data is correct, because you store a proof along with the data of its inclusion within the blockchain. And then as long as that one copy is left, you can check and make sure, even if it's, you know, 50 years old or whatever into the future, right? As long as you have one copy, as long as someone keeps it, all you need is one copy, and then, you know, it sticks around. And that's kind of how it works. If every single copy in the world gets deleted, obviously it's gone. But a lot of the architectures that we design incorporate that type of thing, while also recognizing that people don't have an unlimited budget for paying for data. So we strike the balance, and we try to create some pretty robust guarantees there. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, imagine, say Splash goes down 10 years from now, you know. Your data's still secure. You can take your logs, all your information, your data, you can move it to another platform. Say there's a competing platform, you know, that you can take it and then you can load it up to that, and you still got all your records.
Right, so with these generation 2 digital systems, I mean, kind of, we're taking a bit of a different approach to data portability, right? We believe these systems are most valuable when you can export your data away and then import it somewhere else and then keep it, right? Even if it's not with us. And by enabling that, we think that's a more compelling pitch to the actual people involved than trying to lock it down and not let people export it. So by enabling that data portability, it also creates an opportunity for people to have, vendor neutral solutions where they don't have to lock in and commit to one vendor. It's interoperable in that way too. You can import and export the data and keep it in multiple places. And that way, it's your business records, right? It's your certifications and logs and all that. That's what's important.
Yes, sir.
The cost, will it be per person, per app, per data storage? How do you see that working?
Oh, the cost model, right. So the way that my team would do it is, obviously we need to write some of the code and then we need to deploy it, right? So we set up a deployment and there's some resources associated with that. I think if people want to, build this stuff out through us, I would probably do it per deployment. So if one of the governing bodies wants to deploy it for the entire group of companies, then we'll just run that and we go away. Like anybody can still use it and whatnot. But for us, the main costs are obviously we need to pay some software engineers to write the apps for the platform. And then we'd want to issue some devices, like a work phone basically, for people who use the system, maybe a laptop or a phone, probably a phone, where this could run. And then we just charge per unit on those devices, and then on the engineering to run it, but definitely not per user. We have to build the thing, we have to run it, and then we have to get the devices out to people. Those are the main costs, from my understanding.
Would this be app-based or web-based?
You do both. If you're on a desktop or laptop computer, like I'm just thinking in terms of the software that we have right now, we have some prototypes that work a lot better on desktops. So like an initial prototype, if we were to go build something out in the next, 3 to 6 months, I think we could do it on the web a lot easier, and you have laptops and desktops. And then after that, in the next year, I think it's conceivable we could put it onto work phones. But some of the blockchain stuff, Apple, the App Store and the Google Play Store, there's some issues with getting it onto existing devices. So what we want to do if we're going to do a mobile version is probably just issue a work phone where we can control the actual operating system of that device so that we can create the necessary architecture for the blockchain stuff to work. Just because it's not very compatible with, with some of the existing, mobile platforms. Without going into the technical details, but like web first within 3 to 6 months, and then we could definitely build something out for mobile and issue people, like sell people physical devices they could deploy in the field, whatever, within hopefully the next year would be the goal. One of the things with building this stuff out is that's really what we're here to do, is connect those dots, understand those requirements, and then see if there's a deal to be done, right? We can talk to some people about building that web version, and then later the mobile version, getting that across the line for people, and doing something for this industry. That's kind of the goal here. So please reach out if you that's something you want to see, and we can talk to you about specifics and put a deal together. That's our goal here. So
I have a quick question.
Questions? Oh yeah, sure.
One more. For somebody who's been doing it a long time, such as Ben or myself, we have 4 or 5 books worth of logs, right? So then, if we wanted to use this system, would it be sitting down and trying to log, 1,000 dives, or how would that work?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Whoever deploys the system, right? If it's one dive company that deploys it just for within that one company, it's like whoever's the creator of that deployment is going to have some authority over what data gets to go in there from the past. So if it's like the ADCI and it's across all the companies, then maybe there would be like a sign-off, a trusted sign-off process. But either way, like from a technical perspective, I definitely don't think you'd be manually re-entering data. I can already think of how an OCR-based like AI system would work. Basically, maybe you take a picture with your phone, you scan those pages, right? And then you submit that, and then an AI could go and actually read that data out of there and extract it and put it in automatically. So you might have to take a picture of every page at the worst case scenario. But it depends on how important it is that those historical records from before the app was in existence need to be put into the new system, right? If that's super important, which I could definitely see how it is, then we can work with people on developing out the best solution there. So what I see happening is, right, number one, for people that want to get historical data into the system, we could build out a little way for you to just, we deploy out these work phones to everybody. They point a camera at, they just take a picture of the pages and scan it in. And then maybe they go to, the system administrator or whatever supervisors in place that would sign off on all that historical data, whoever has the authority to do that sign-off process for that particular deployment of the app. And that person would approve it, and then the AI would go through and actually crunch all of that data and parse it out and actually just create the necessary historical records in the app. And then any new records, of course, would just build on top of what was already there from those books. But I think it would be important, obviously, to make sure that whoever created that deployment, whoever actually was in charge of setting that up, has the ability to sign off on that to make sure nobody goes and, make sure it's all legit, basically, right? Like, they know who you are, you've been there for a long time, and they're gonna make sure everything is where it should be from the past. But yeah, those migration paths definitely do exist, and I don't think somebody would just have to manually enter all this information. That would really suck. I hope we can do better than that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. I think our time is up here. We'll be around if anybody has any more questions. Please don't feel free to approach us.
Yeah, thank you very much.